Story 1. Yet another hilarious way Trump is showing how little he thinks of his own supporters. Story 2. It is all part of the anti-intellectual, anti-elitist messaging that has been central to the Make America Great Again movement. The message blames coastal, college-educated liberal intellectual elites for people's problems. It is part of the so-called culture wars. Story 3. Hold on. He actually said this? That is hilarious on so many levels. Story 4. Sometimes he does tell the truth. It is rare, but it happens. Story 5. He is admitting that it is foolish to like someone as depraved and crooked as he is. I am shocked he actually said that. Story 6. If Trump voters could read, this would be devastating for them. Story 7. That is because smart people have fully functional brains that can think and understand things. He has followers who are provoked by his agenda. Story 8. You would think his followers would see this as an insult, but they did not. Story 9. Cue his supporters cheering for things like that for some reason. Story 10. It's not that smart people dislike him. Decent people do. Story 11. He's like a toxic boyfriend. He will belittle his partner because he knows they're delusional enough to stick around no matter what. Story 12. Donald Trump saying that indicates he is an idiot and more intelligent people avoid him. Story 13. Trump has said something that is both true and correct. Story 14. A broken clock is right twice a day. It is still not flattering and he does not understand the irony, but this time he is right and telling the truth. Everyone, please do not hold your breath expecting this to happen often. Story 15. The only smart people who like him are the manipulators who surround him, like Grima Wormtongue. Story 16. He's right. Smart people understand him and history. He is bad for the country and everyone in it. Of course, people who understand him do not like him. People who know that fire burns know that putting your hand in it is bad. Story 17. That may be one of the most accurate things he has ever said in his life. Story 18. This may be the first time I've ever said this, but he's not wrong. Trump always outs himself. Story 19. It tells you everything you need to know about Trump's intellect. Stupid people hate smart people and become irrationally angry when they encounter them. His statement also makes it very clear that the only people who like me are idiots. Do the math, Make America Great Again supporters. I know basic arithmetic is difficult, but it will only hurt for a minute. Story 20. When you are more intelligent, you begin to question things, and it becomes harder to convince people to vote against their self-interests or to lie to them. Make America Great Again and the conservative world are like toddlers. When confronted with a problem they cannot solve, they become frustrated and want to break something, hit someone, or blame someone. That is what Donald Trump and his allies do. Story 21. His supporters do not realize he is calling them stupid, which is self-fulfilling if you think about it. Story 22. No lies, detective. No smart person likes him. If you think you are smart and you like him, then I have some bad news for you, buddy. Story 23. He means what he said. The Make America Great Again movement attracts many supporters. Story 24. Many smart people do not like him because he lies frequently and promotes hate. He has a history of con artistry and sexual assault. He does not care about the Constitution, especially for ordinary Americans. He is essentially like Vladimir Putin. He is running the economy into the ground while enriching himself and his friends. He is strip mining the United States of citizens' money and rights. Story 25. I think we're fucked. The least capable among us are currently calling the shots. And because they have the average intellect of a middle schooler, they're too childish, defensive, and self-absorbed to do any real introspection. Whenever they are told they are wrong, they assume it must be a Democrat or liberal trick because the television and propaganda have told them what to believe, and they lack the critical thinking skills, patience, and mental fortitude to think otherwise. We should have stopped insulating them and let nature take its course years ago. Instead, we coddled them and made space for their feelings no matter how irrational, as if they were children. We tolerated intolerance because we thought they just don't know better and that they'll see once we help educate them, and that has led to the continued downfall of our nation every single time. I'm not saying we should stop resources that help people who need assistance. They do need it more than I do. But if they want to jump off the cliff without buckling their parachute after numerous warnings, we don't need to jump with them to make sure they fix it. Fuck them. Story 26. That line cracks me up. Only Trump could spin smart people don't like me into something he finds flattering. It's almost like he's trying to own it before anyone else can. It's also a bit of a flex. He is saying that the elites and the so-called intellectual crowd don't get him, but regular people do. That plays right into his brand as an outsider, someone not part of the polished academic scene. Story 27. I believe we should point out when Donald Trump is telling the truth, since most of what he says is untrue. His statement that smart people do not like him is true, and it is rare for him to admit that. People laugh at the remark even though he is insulting both them and himself. I think he is simply not smart. Story 28. His followers would be pretty mad if they were not so dumb. Story 29. It says a lot about how he feels about Make America Great Again supporters. He would not touch them with a 10-foot pole at any of his properties. Story 30. What he thought he was saying, smart people do not like me because I am smarter than they are. That reflects an egotistical, narcissistic thought process. What he actually said reflects the thought process of an elderly person with dementia. Story 31. I think it is deliberate. When Trump says smart people don't like me, his supporters hear it as a jab at elites while critics hear it as him admitting his base is dumb. That double meaning stirs outrage, rallies his base, and keeps him in the news. It is the same vibe as when he said I love the poorly educated in 2016, not a slip but a way to deepen the us versus them divide and control the conversation. Story 32. He is correct, and that is why they blame the education system, specifically higher education, instead of the guns and right-wing rhetoric. Dumb means easily manipulated. If that does not sum up the right, I do not know what does. Story 33. Trump specifically said he prefers the Republican Party because its members are gullible and uneducated. The secret to republicanism is to take any outlandish, bigoted position and frame it as an A versus B debate, no matter how unrelated in context. Or logic, which reduces the fight to a battle of emotions. This is why many supporters back a losing, whiny candidate even when he flip-flops. Thinking for themselves is too difficult when the first step is admitting they have been very wrong for a long time. Story 34. It was nice of him to tell everyone what the smart people already knew. Story 35. This might be the first true statement he has made in over 45 years. Story 36. He is correct and he knows why. They do not buy his bullshit. Story 37. I finally agreed with Trump about something. Release the Epstein files. Story 38. Sometimes he rambled something true by accident. Story 39. He insulted his followers by calling them stupid again, and they still support him. Story 40. Donald Trump is a weak person's idea of a strong man, a poor person's idea of a rich man, and a dumb person's idea of a smart man. Story 41. I think he just called his entire base stupid. He did, after all, say he loved the poorly educated. Story 42. This is the first thing he has ever said that I can absolutely agree with. Story 43. He just called his supporters idiots, and they are too dumb to realize it. Story 44. I have a friend whose husband supports Make America Great Again, and she is a Democrat, although she is slowly heading to the right. She will preface everything by saying, intelligent Trump supporters. I'm like, babe, there is no such thing as an intelligent Trump supporter. Story 45. Those people who read a lot and use complex words, sometimes called intellectuals, hold different views. We should address those differences through discussion and democratic processes rather than excluding or targeting people. Story 46. When he is right, he is right. I have to give this one to him. Story 47. No shit. We do not like you either. Epstein files. Then resign, please. Story 48. We will never be the party of smart people. Rick Santorum, 2014. Story 49. He's right. People who are smart enough to do their own research and think critically don't like him. That said, you don't need to be smart to see the nonsense he's pulling. He's doing it all in broad daylight. Story 50. This is the first 100% accurate thing he has ever said. Story 51. What the hell are these kinds of questions? You already know the answer. Story 52. He is saying his followers are not smart. Because they are in a cult, they will not see it that way. They will interpret it as an us versus them situation. Watch Idiocracy to see how this ultimately plays out. Story 53. He knows his shtick mostly works on low-income, low-education, low-achieving redneck dorks. Story 54. Nobody does cell phones like me. People say they cannot believe how many I do every single day. Legendary cell phones, the best in history. Other politicians are very weak and low energy. They might get 1 or 2 cell phones in a year. I do 20 before breakfast, tremendous numbers. People ask, sir, how do you come up with so many ways to humiliate yourself? And I say, look, it is called talent. Story 55. I am so disappointed in the supporters of Trump for not even trying to understand reality enough to realize they are hurting themselves along with everyone else. The comment made by Trump is just another thing they should find insulting that went right over their heads. Story 56. 77 million Make America Great Again votes. Very foolish. They are eating the dogs and the cats. Ultraviolet colonoscopies and Lysol injections. George Washington's army took control of the airports. Mexico will pay for the wall. Other countries pay the tariffs. Story 57. I love reading comments from the delusional people in every political thread on Reddit. Laughing out loud. Story 58. It's true, and for many people that makes them reflect and try to understand. For him, it's like a badge of honor. Story 59. I think it's the first honest thing he's said this term. Story 60. Supporters of Make America Great Again will misinterpret it completely. He has been saying it for a long time. Before he ran for office, he also said that if he ever did, he would run as a Republican because Republicans are stupid. This is not a direct quote, but expresses the same idea. Story 61. I think it is sad and hilarious that he is calling Make America Great Again stupid and they will never believe it. Story 62. My landlord asked me if I was involved in the occult because I have a bookshelf. A regular fiction bookshelf. She supports Make America Great Again. That's all I needed to know about that. Story 63. His supporters will wear their stupidity as a badge of honor. The rest of us already knew that. Story 64. It does seem correct. You know the saying about broken clocks. Story 65. He decided today to tell his supporters that he thinks they are stupid, and no one objected. Story 66. The fact he said it out loud makes no difference to his supporters and little difference to his opponents. He is still president and remains in everyone's head and newsfeed every day. I wish this would end. Story 67. I doubt his supporters would even realize they had been insulted. Story 68. He alienated his base so badly that neither he nor they probably realize it. Story 69. If you take 2 seconds to listen to him and you like him, you are not very smart. Story 70. My take. It is true. Source. I would like to think I am well above the average. Story 71. If you are not offended by him saying that, you are the person he is talking about. Story 72. This whole Trump situation is the most embarrassing event to ever happen to humankind. It just confirms how fucking stupid humans are. Story 73. And to prove his point, the people to whom he was speaking started laughing. Story 74. Trump thinks his supporters are idiots. He is right for once. Story 75. Even in his current squash-like mental state, he was bound to have a moment of self-awareness during the second term. I am happy we got to witness it. Story 76. No shit. It's been his literal strategy for almost a decade. He said, I love the uneducated during his first campaign. Story 77. Just to clarify this for the Make America Great Again sheep, what it is actually saying is only stupid people like me. Story 78. He is right. It is one of the very few things this motherfucker has ever said that is true. Story 79. It would be the first honest thing to come out of his puckered mouth. Story 80. I think his followers are too dumb to understand what he means when he talks about them. Story 81. His entire political brand is built on anti-intellectualism and weaponized stupidity. Of course, he thinks it is a good thing that smart people do not like him. Story 82. He has far more self-awareness than I would have given him credit for. Story 83. It is the reason his administration is filled with dumbass. Story 84. First, what is there to like? I'm an older white man, 7 years younger than Trump. Trump, to say it as nicely as I can, is a vile human being, and anyone who says differently needs a moment of silent contemplation before ever speaking again. It is not his fault. He was the victim of horrible parents and a society that worshipped at the altar of capitalism. In other words, we taught him that it was all right to be horrible, in the same way you encourage bad behavior in a hunting dog because you want it to hunt. Our society encouraged and rewarded Trump's abusive behavior as he hunted both women and money. We thought it was funny and encouraged him, along with the large number of other serial abusers who live in our society. The same abusers who now run the financial system, the captains of industry, use and abuse us every day. Story 85. Trump is talking about people who have more analytical thinking skills or a college education because they are more likely to question his policies and research what he and his administration say, and are therefore more likely to dislike him and his policies. This is why he pushes against colleges, especially those that protest him, and seeks to weaken the Department of Education. If people lack education, they are less likely to question him. That is how he sees it, and you can see it in action across the country. Many people call it a cult. Supporters of the Make America Great Again movement often follow him blindly and accept his statements as gospel. They do not question him but instead question others. When someone is in a cult, they cannot see it. Story 86. Trump is a narcissistic sociopath with illusions of grandeur. I think he genuinely believes he is so intelligent that others who are actually intelligent see him as a challenge. That's my take on the comment. Story 87. Charlie Kirk was a community college dropout. He had wanted to attend West Point and applied but was not accepted. The start of his career as a self-styled master debater rested on the claim that a woman had taken his spot at West Point, as if one could know who was in your spot. I keep seeing Charlie Kirk described as a respectful debater who wanted to hear and consider all viewpoints. He was a respectful debater the way Donald Trump was a faithful husband and successful businessman. He sowed hate and division for profit and to build a following of dimwit throwback conservatives. It is horrible that this happened and that we are experiencing political assassinations like those of the 1960s again, but part of his soul must be gratified that he died by the same words he lived by, as an unfortunate side effect of the claimed necessity of preserving our Second Amendment rights. He was encouraged to start Turning Point United States of America by Bill Montgomery, who denied vaccines and mask wearing and later died of coronavirus disease 2019. Story 88. They did not like him in college either, which is why he failed out of the first one. Story 89. Wow. He really called Make America Great Again supporters stupid, and none of them even batted an eye. Story 90. It's true. Compassionate, kind people and animals don't like him. Story 91. I'd say it should mean more to the people who like him, but they don't get it. Story 92. I didn't know he said that, but I'm happy to hear he finally spoke the truth. Story 93. Sometimes he accidentally says something honest. It's weird when it happens, though. Story 94. I think it is hilarious that most of his supporters will not put two and two together and realize he has said, "Only stupid people like me." Story 95. Smart people, whether liberal or conservative, do not like him. Story 96. It is obvious. You have to be willfully ignorant to believe anything he says. He repeatedly lies. We all see the damage he is inflicting on the economy and how divisive and spiteful he is. He has done nothing for the people of this country and has made everything worse. The entire world is turning its back on us. Prices are skyrocketing, job losses are increasing, and layoffs are multiplying. There is nothing he has done for working-class Americans. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.